Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our virtual training workshop. It's a sequence of our 21 days of effective communication workshop, which is a part of the positive psychology coaching series. Today is the 20th, that is the second last day of this training, and our topic is how to improve your mediation skills. Now let's start with the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Usually, most non-confrontational people find themselves stuck between two individuals from time to time. So, what should you do when faced with two warring colleagues, friends, or some family members? In this session, you will find a few useful tips that will help you to diffuse the situation while keeping everyone's dignity intact. First, let's get clear on what it means to be a mediator. Whether it's a formal position at work or a role you adopt in your social circle, a mediator's job is to act as an unbiased third party who helps two or more people sort out a conflict through negotiation and communication. The aim is to find an outcome that suits everyone, at least as is reasonably possible. They do not make decisions or impose solutions, but instead facilitate communication and encourage the parties to find a mutually acceptable resolutions to their dispute. Mediators may be trained professionals or individuals with specific expertise in the area of the dispute. They may work in a variety of settings, including courtrooms, businesses, or community organizations. The role of the mediator is to create a safe and constructive environment for dialogues and negotiations, and to help the parties identify their underlying interests and needs. The mediators may also help the parties to generate creative solutions and to explore alternative options for resolutions. The use of a mediator can be beneficial in situations where the parties are unable to resolve their disputes through direct communication or negotiations. Mediation can be a more cost-effective and efficient alternative to litigation and can help to preserve relationships and avoid further escalation of the conflict. Mediation is also helpful when two people have tried to resolve their problems but can't seem to arrive at a constructive solution. By the way, don't confuse it with negotiations, which is a process by which the parties sit down and try to reach a solution together. Before the mediation process, check out the prerequisite of mediations. Now we discuss them one by one so you can get familiar with them. In step 1, before mediation, make sure that you are a suitable candidate for that. Remember that mediation should be voluntary for all parties and a mediator should be as unbiased as possible. Furthermore, they should be capable of facilitating an exchange without imposing their opinion. Always be honest. If you have any stake in the outcome or are biased towards one side, you should not act as an arbitrator or mediator. This is a very good reason that why organizations often seek the services of an outside consultant when dealing with workplace conflict. Remember, impartiality is a key for mediation. Step 2 is lay down the ground rules. As a mediator, it's your responsibility for ensuring that discussions are carried out in a most civilized manner. This means that everyone should need to follow an agreed set of guidelines. As a general rule, the following are some good starting points. No one is allowed to speak over someone else. Everyone will get their chance to tell their side of the story. No one is allowed to bring up irrelevant issues. Everyone need to actively engage with the process. All parties will focus on only one issue at a time. No one is allowed to verbally abuse, belittle or harass anyone involved in the process. The main point of the conversation will be noted by the mediator and copies will be made available to all parties following the meeting. Everything said in the mediation session will be kept strictly confidential unless everyone agrees that the issue may be discussed elsewhere. If you are mediating in a formal setting, you may want to print the ground rules on a piece of paper and have everyone sign it to show that they understand how the mediation works and that they will follow the rules. You should also determine what will happen if someone violates them. For example, if one party verbally abuses the other, proceedings will be halted for 10 minutes while both sides cool down. After that, the offended party must issue an apology before the meeting can continue. It is important that you follow the rules. Otherwise, the oppressed party will lose confidence in your ability to act as a third party or mediator or arbitrator. If you are intimidated by any of the personalities involved, you should not take on the role. The next step is to go through the items on the agenda and invite each party to voice their grievances. Note the important points and ask individuals to repeat themselves. Often someone who has become fixated or hyperactive on a particular issue will need more time than usual to gather their thoughts. If one party feels intimidated by the other, you can suggest that each party be given the opportunity to speak to you separately. If necessary, remain everyone of the ground rules. Everyone needs to stick to the facts wherever possible and express their concerns in an objective, calm manner. No one should get angry and verbal aggression should not be tolerated. In the event that physical violence breaks out, the mediation process should be stopped immediately. There is no excuse under any circumstances for physical abuse. Acting as a bouncer or referee is definitely not your job. Order the offending party to leave and call the police if necessary. In step 4, listen to both sides so that you can understand the nature of the conflict. Explain to everyone present that mediation gives everyone an opportunity to express their opinions and that it is important that each party has a chance to speak. Ask both sides separately what key issue they want to address during the process. Encourage all parties to separate facts from feelings. For example, when someone wants to express the pain that another party has caused them, the underlying problem can be summarized as party X is being hurt by party Y. It feels disrespectful. During this stage of the process, you will need to use your best listening skills. Unless everyone feels respected, mediation will not be successful. Use active listening techniques such as pre-phrasing and appropriate pointing. Pre-phrasing is the act and process of rearranging a point. Appropriate cues include asking questions when you feel one or both parties are not being heard or understood. Be sure to not all issues raised. The next step is to prioritize these issues so that they can be discussed in a logical order. It is impossible to have a receipt here because every situation is unique. However, the final agenda should make sense to everyone present. There should be some kind of flow to it. For example, you might decide to tackle the most recent issue first, or you might want to talk about them chronologically. In the fifth step, which is last but not least, decide what issue need to be resolved. For this, compile a list of all the details where the parties agrees along with their points of disagreement. Then make this list as detailed as possible. When the parties can find some common ground, they are likely to approach the mediation with renewed hope. Now the question is how to mediate. As we discussed earlier, mediating a dispute involves a structured process of negotiation and communication that is focused on helping the parties to find a mutually acceptable resolution. Here are some steps to follow when mediating. First, establish communication. As the mediator, your first task is to establish open and respectful communication between the both parties. You should introduce yourself and explain your role in the process. You should also allow each party to introduce themselves and share their perspective on this dispute. Then identify interests and needs. The next step is to help the parties identify their underlying interests and needs. You should ask open-ended questions and actively listen to each party to gain a deeper understanding of their perspective. Then generate options. Once the interests and needs of each party have been identified, you should encourage them to generate options for resolution. You should encourage creative thinking and help the parties to consider alternative solutions that may satisfy their interests and needs. Then evaluate options. The parties should then evaluate the options that have been generated and identify the ones that they believe will work best for them. You should help them to consider the pros and cons of each option and to explore potential risks and benefits. Then reach an agreement. Once the parties have identified a mutually acceptable solution, you should help them to reach a formal agreement. The agreement should be clear and specific and should address all of the key issues that were identified during the mediation process. Then follow up. After the agreement has been reached, you should follow up with the parties to ensure that it is being implemented as planned. You should also provide an opportunity for the parties to give feedback on the mediation process and to provide any suggestion for improvement. Remember, it is important to note that the mediation process may vary depending on the specific context and nature of the dispute. However, the general principles of open communication, identifying interests and needs, generating options, evaluating options, reaching agreements, and following up should be applied in all cases. Thank you very much. Here we finish this lecture on how to improve your mediation skills. We hope that you enjoyed much and learned a lot of new things with us. We are waiting for your valuable feedback. We will be right back with a new topic. Keep watching our YouTube channel.